Hope everybody's enjoying their meal. We have a couple of special guests with us tonight. Um, Over the summer, Appalachian Council for Innovation partnered with UVA Wise, and Heather waved. So this was all kind of Heather's idea, but ACI partnered with UVA Wise on an initiative called Southwest Virginia Can Code. And several camps were held across all of Southwest Virginia, and over 150 students participated. And then the winners from each of the school divisions got invited to a pitch fest at UVA Wise on August 1st. And so it ended up being, I want to say 13. We had 13 that got to pitch their app on the main stage. They got some coverage from WCYB, and they were featured in the Kingsport Times News, and they were pitching their app in front of Apple reps and folks at UVA Wise. So it all boiled down to those final 13 out of 150 students, and the final 13 apps. These young ladies here, they were the ultimate winners. Yeah. And so I thought it only fitting to invite them here so that they could present their app to you all and show you all what they've done, all the hard work and everything that they've learned. So we have Cooper Bogus and Ava Holly from Narrows Elementary Middle, and I'm going to turn it over to them. They're going to have to do some back and forth, just some logistics on this. So, you ready?
Hi, I'm Maurice Cooper Bogus, but you can call me Cooper, and this is Ava Holly. So we are the creators of Calm It, the app. So first, we will tell you about what does our app do. So what does our app do? Our app helps with anxiety and depression, gives the person using it a way to calm themselves down, and overall, we are just trying to help the person using it. Also, we kind of base this app off of me because I have really bad anxiety, and especially in school, so we're just trying to target it before it gets really bad, how mine kind of is. Now I will tell you our special features. Our special features are links to yoga videos, ocean videos, and breathing techniques. We also have virtual fidget toys and slime, so if you click that slime right there, it will take you to a website. As you can see, it'll take you where it has games on there. So now we will continue on. So we also have calming music. We also have breathing techniques and daily inspirational quotes, one at 8 a.m. and one at 8 p.m. every day. So as you can see, we have a reminder up there that says, look at your new quotes. 8 a.m. reminder, look at your new quotes. And now we have a link that if you click the quote right there, it will take you to a quote website where you can choose, do you want motivational, inspirational, happy, whatever you want. Now we will show you some more. So now we will show you our age recommendations. Our age recommendations are middle schoolers and up, 12 plus, like we kind of said. We're trying to target middle schoolers because that's when classes get harder, schedules get chaotic, and we're just trying to target it before it gets bad. Then we have our verification. So our verification will ask you when's your birthday? What's your full name? What day were you born? It'll ask you what's calming also. And then you'll just click that button right there that says confirm, and it will take you to the settings and show you how to play. And now we will tell you how our app will work in school. It'll contact a teacher, friend, or a counselor that has this app. by Gmail. And it'll also, this is one of the exceptions to phones in class. It can also work ProBooks, iPads, tablets, and Chromebooks. And now I will pass it on to Ava, who will tell you about our character.
This is our character, Bubbles the Fish, and once you log in and everything, he will walk you through a short tutorial to show you where everything is and how it works. Here are some videos we have. If you click the pictures, we have sort of a typo there, but if we click the pictures, it will take you to YouTube. And the videos include yoga videos, ocean videos, and breathing techniques. Okay, so if you click the navy blue button, it will take you to the app settings. And if you click the dog button, it will take you to Gmail so you can contact a teacher, a counselor, or a friend. Here's one of our pages. They're supposed to be sound. Here are some credits. And here are some interviews. There's no sound. So if you click on the logo, it will take you here. And there's sponsors and special thanks. And if you click on one of the pictures of us, it will take you to a video of us talking about how we are so happy that you downloaded the app and everything.
Have a great day.
You know, it's really amazing what they can come up with and what's important to them. And I think one of the cool things about traveling around and seeing some of the different apps is you really get to see what's important to these kids, you know, at their age, you know, what's on their mind, what really occupies a lot of space in their mind, and what causes are important to them. So thank you so much. Let's hear it one more time. The next portion of the program tonight will be moving through some awards. We have some speakers, a panel, and then keynote. So here to, there you are. I was looking for you out there and it was throwing me off. Give our first innovation award is Stephanie Surratt.
Very impressive. Both your app, the way you handled yourself, and the way you speak. Very good. Well, my name is Stephanie Surratt. I work for Sonic America and also the Executive Director of the Center for Manufacturing Excellence in Southwest Virginia. And I do have the pleasure this evening to present the Innovation Award. Heather Askey of the Center for Teaching Excellence of UVA Wise, which you already heard some information about and saw the product of what they're doing, recently coordinated and spearheaded an initiative that turned out to be a massive undertaking. That initiative was Southwest Virginia Can Code. To kick off Southwest Virginia Can Code, Heather worked with 12 school divisions to meticulously work out the details of 17 different mini camps all across Southwest Virginia during June and July of this year, and she even hosted one of the camps at UVA Wise. During these camps, over 150 5th through 8th grade students from Southwest Virginia participated in a program that taught them how to code and create apps that address problems that are relevant and important to them. They were also afforded the opportunity to present their apps and ideas to judges at each camp. The top apps from each school division were invited to present on the main stage at UVA Wise on August the 1st. Roughly 70 students attended the Pitch Fest at UVA Wise. 38 projects were showcased, and 13 of those were pitched on the main stage in a 3-minute rapid-fire pitches. Their apps were seen by not only our local folks and judges, but also representatives from Apple and Code Virginia, and the event was featured on WCYB and in the Kingsport Times. The program has been an overwhelming success. Heather has made an impression on hundreds of students that will last a lifetime. Heather plans to train at least 50 more additional camp instructors and support staff. She fully expects all 12 divisions to continue and expand into the 23-24 school year, as well as picking up additional divisions. Having had calls from as far as Roanoke about possibly working together. And anytime this far Southwest Virginia region is contacted by anybody north or east of us, it's a big deal. So I appreciate that, Heather. This innovative idea has earned Heather the distinction of being this year's recipient of ACI's Innovation Award for 2023. Congratulations. If you'll come on up here, please.
Well, I can tell you that surprise is probably the word I can, that was very much a surprise, a very thankful surprise. But I also want to thank ACI and John in particular, because John put more miles this summer going to judge these camps and got to see more of these camps than even I did. But I just want to thank each and every person, and especially these young ladies and their families and their teachers. It was definitely a coordinated effort that started actually in this building with one meeting in November that led to all of these wonderful things. And we are excited and looking forward to next year. And I'll also be looking for volunteer judges. So just putting that out there for you. But I really, really thank you for this honor. It really is a surprise and really close to my heart. And thank you, girls, for just your innovation and for your hard work too. Thank you all.
Next on the agenda is a panel discussion, and I have the privilege of introducing, always lowering the mic, and introducing the moderator and the panelists. And also for those who didn't notice the dessert, I believe there's still some dessert over there as well. Yes. So the moderator for the panel is Marty Holliday. She's the executive director for the New River Mount Rogers Workforce Investment Area Consortium Board, and the New River Mount Rogers Workforce Development Board, and I don't know how she gets that on a business card. She's been with the board since 2001. The New River Mount Rogers Workforce Development Area covers 13 jurisdictions in Southwest Virginia, and they're the regional conveyor of the workforce systems for the area. As the executive director, Marty has overall strategic and operational responsibility for the workforce development in this region. She executes its mission, its vision, and its strategic goals. And I think many of us in this room know who she is because she's so active and gets around, if you will. Through her work in the region, she fosters relationships that support regional collaboration and collective impact efforts. To that end, the board has brought in over $8 million to the region in the last 6 years. Marty and her team continue to source resources to meet the needs of businesses and job seekers in the region. She received her Bachelor of Science in Business Human Resource Management from Florida Southern College. Her previous work experience consists of regional operations management, corporate training, HR, sales and marketing, and adult education. She lives in Floyd, Virginia with her husband, Carter. Panelists on the board include Sam Wolford, who is a regional growth manager for GenEdge in the Southwest Virginia service area. This includes the cities of Bristol, Galax, and Norton, Martinsville, and includes the counties of Bland, Buchanan, Carroll, Dickinson, Grayson, Henry, Lee, Patrick, Russell, Scott, Smith, Tazewell, Washington, Wise, and Wythe. And he can spout all those off to you. He has over 24 years experience, and his expertise is in leading, mentoring, developing, managing, and implementing solutions in engineering technologies, emergency operations, process improvement, organizational development, workforce development, and program management. Sam has a personal narrative of strategic innovation and creative collaboration, leading to successful operational and program management and project delivery. He's tackled complex challenges and provided programmatic solutions for many clients and organizations across the region he serves. He's also an advisor for the ACI board. Rachel Patton is a Director of Business Solutions for Southwest Virginia Workforce Development Board. She has over 15 years of experience in workforce development. She works with a team designing customized workforce solutions for regional businesses and industry. She works to streamline access to state and federal workforce services and assist economic developers in recruiting new businesses to the region. She has her Master of Science in Occupational Technology Studies and a concentration in business and industry training from ODU. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration with a concentration in marketing from King University. Next on the board is Stephanie Surrett. She's a professional speaker, trainer, and consultant. She strives to advance the economy and workforce of Southwest Virginia by working with businesses, communities, nonprofits, and educational institutions throughout the region and Commonwealth of Virginia. Stephanie has over 25 years of experience in strategic planning, program and project management, business management, employee development and training, and business consulting. She's worked with a variety of clients ranging from educational institutions, such as the Southwest Virginia Community College, University of Virginia at Wise, Virginia Tech, and also K-12 public school systems and small startups, such as Inorganic Ventures and large corporations such as Northrop Grumman, CGI, Shoal, and Phoenix Packaging. In addition to working in the private sector, Stephanie has gained experience in the nonprofit sector by developing and implementing programs focused on workforce and community development. She holds an MBA from Jones International University, and her Bachelor of Arts in Business and Public Administration is from UVA College at Wise. Heather is a panelist for us this evening, and she's the Instructional Technology Coordinator, Online Learning Support Specialist, and an Adjunct Professor of Education for the Center of Teaching Excellence at UVA's College at Wise. In addition to her role at the Center for Teaching Excellence, Heather holds and leads STREAM outreach efforts in the region. She holds a BA in English with a PK-8 training endorsement, a Master's of Education Administration and Supervision, and is currently pursuing her doctoral degree in Education Technology. She's a busy person. She has designed and implemented hundreds of online and traditional professional learning courses for students and educators, as well as taken the lead in planning several regional initiatives and events, most recently the Tech Splash Conference and the Southwest Virginia Can Code. She's editor of The Bridge, which is a literary publication for the Virginia State Organization of Delta Kappa Gamma, and she serves in various leadership roles for the Virginia Society of Technology and Educational Board's directors. She's passionate and an advocate for innovative learning and supports children and educators. Let's round of applause for the moderator and panelists, please.
The person before you was a little short.
I wasn't going to point that out.
Oh, sorry.
Y'all ready? Well, as you just heard, you've got quite a bit of experience and knowledge right here. So hopefully we can do justice to this conversation. All of us in this room understand the importance of ensuring that our businesses get the skilled workforce that they need in order to compete in their marketplace. We all get that. So let's see what's going on around the region. I'm just going to throw out the questions. You guys kind of look at each other to figure out who's going to start the volley first, and then we'll just move it back and forth. But you don't have to you can talk to each other as well as answer the question. So what is the biggest challenge to convincing the next generation of workers, professionals, to ensure that they get what they need in order to be successful in our region, to get those skills to go to our businesses? What is it that they need to have, and why you're thinking about that? What do they need to be successful? What does success actually look like, and how are we going to measure it?
I know everybody's surprised I want to go first. So I've had several instances where young people or parents have approached me with the mindset that they have to go somewhere else to get an education and to get a good paying job. And I can tell you from experience that across this region, there's nothing that someone wants that we do not have here. And what happens is we have parents who are not informed, they're uninformed, or ignorant about the fact, ignorant's not a negative word, it's just a lack of knowledge, that wages may seem higher elsewhere, but our cost of living here. So one of the very first things that I would do is educate parents, as well as those young people, about comparing salary versus cost of living, and then also what tracks are available, and connect them sooner to mentors and opportunities with companies to say what you like as a hobby can be a job here in Southwest Virginia, and I don't care what it is.
So I'm going to say that I say that success for an individual, it looks different for everybody. And I always tell my children that success is choice and opportunities and flexibility. It's having a skill that you can move around and have an opportunity to do something that you would want to do with your life. And so that success is going to look different for everyone, but just being able to stay here, having our businesses being able to grow in Southwest Virginia because they do have the skilled workers that they need, I think both of those things equal success.
I would agree with that. I think a lot of it comes down to how we measure success and how we measure quality of life, because I've got a lot of friends across the nation that live in urban areas and rural areas and all over the place. But they measure, I think the pandemic taught us that we measure, sorry. Yeah. I'll give it back to you. We have to measure success and our quality of life differently depending on where we are, and I think we have a lot of things to offer here that maybe some of our urban areas don't, that we just have to be more mindful of showcasing that. I mean, how many of us have lived in an area all of our lives and discover new places every day? I mean, there's always these new nuggets of places to go and just places to discover, I mean, opportunities to discover. I'll just be honest, as an educator, half the businesses in here I didn't know about what you all do. So for us to educate and be more seen by our students and by our families, to understand this room represents a ton of opportunity. But do our students know about it? And how do we bridge the gap between K-12 and higher ed and our industries better? How do we kind of get people mixing together and having those conversations about what success could be and what their future could be here in this region?
I think that, yes, all of those are very good answers. But I've talked with a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses are struggling, to be honest, to get what they need. Question I would ask you all: how many in this room are happy? Are happy with your life, are happy with where you live, are happy? Hands? Everybody's hands are going up. Success to me equals happiness, contentment, being happy with what I'm doing, and looking for those opportunities for that constant change. And I think one of the things that we struggle with in our region is helping people to understand that change can be just as good as status quo. Most of the time, it's much better. I mean, I look around the room and I see some tremendously and incredibly successful business people here. And their lives have been constant change. And they've not just reacted to change that was happening to them, they created change themselves. And I think, to help young people, to help people who may not be employed in the region to really find success, to help them to see that there's more to success than just what everybody on TV tells you, right? We live through the TV, we live through media, we see, oh, well, that's got to be success. That's not necessarily success. I live a pretty simple life. I'm very content with where I'm at. I feel like I'm successful. Probably not to many of you. I'm probably not that successful, but I feel like I am. So to me, I think that's where we kind of need to go with our young people. Help them to understand you can do anything you want to do. Just set your mind to it. Just believe in it. Hope. We need to instill hope in our youth, in our young people, and in all of our people. Because the reality is, there is no place that I've ever been that's more innovative, more adaptive, more capable of solving complex problems, complex challenges, bringing forth solutions that actually work in the real world than right here where we live. So I think we need our young people to understand that.
Well, thank you. So, what can we do as a region to ensure that our businesses are getting the applicants that have the qualifications that they need? And we all know that qualifications is more than just I can do the occupation. It's that whole breadth of whatever else a person brings to the table. So how do we ensure that our businesses get that?
I'll be happy to start that one. I think it has to do with communication and collaboration. We've got to come together as a people, as a region, and make the decision that we're going to make that happen. That includes our business community, that includes our educators, it includes our workforce development community, it includes everybody. We've got to come together and make sure that we know what it is the businesses need, that we know what our students want and need, and that we're able to provide those things. So I think that's kind of how we make sure that businesses get what they need. We come together, we collaborate, we become master collaborators.
I love that. Well, it's one of those things in higher ed, and even with our K-12 schools. I mean, we did a computer science teaching endorsement to prepare our teachers to be able to handle the computer science standards that Virginia put in place. And of course, they did that in 2020 when the world fell apart. So teachers were struggling with it. And when we did the endorsement, our professors looked at those standards and said, these are not enough. These are not going to ensure that our kids can do the jobs that they need to do. And if you all know my background, I'm an English major and I'm not a computer scientist, but I support a lot of people in computer science. And I hadn't picked up on it, but the professor saw it and knew it. And so we started to have conversations with the Department of Ed, and they knew it too. But they hadn't done that collaboration with the industry enough to ensure that the standards were rigorous enough to ensure success in those fields. That is being addressed currently, and with the standards revision, but it's something that we have to work together in order to make sure that we know what to prepare these kids for. And I think that's just one example that I've been a part of recently that was just kind of mind-blowing to see that we had these fantastic standards that were in place, but they weren't enough. So our students were going to go on to college and they were going to struggle, or they were going to struggle into getting those fields when we can do more, and we are going to do more.
So I agree, and I think it's very important to have our businesses at the table and to be finding out where those gaps are and where the disconnect is. But we've also spent a lot of time in the workforce boards, I know Marty and myself, looking at where the disconnect is with the job seekers. Why are they not taking advantage of the wonderful opportunities that are being offered? And so, we know we've got great training programs, we have great job opportunities. Why aren't folks getting to those opportunities? And so we're looking at things, our friends with United Way have taken on the child care initiative in the region, and we're looking at solutions for things that are barriers for individuals to go to work, like transportation and housing, and some of those critical pieces that job seekers need before they're even ready for us to train to send to you. And so I think when we talk about workforce development, our mind immediately goes to training, which is so critically important, but we also have to look and make sure those other pieces are in place before we get to that. And so we've spent some time looking at our available workforce and what are those barriers and how can we help address those barriers to get them prepared to come to work and to be successful and for you to be able to retain that worker.
What I would want to add is, how many of you learn best? Do you learn by reading, by listening, or by getting your hands on it? What? Hands-on, right? You got to get your hands on it. We need more work-based projects, and I know that employers are willing and prepared and ready to send out projects or people to our local schools. There's a couple of initiatives that over the years we've been working on, work-ready communities and also simulated workplace, that would really provide that opportunity. But I think the more we can get our kids, our young people in K through 12, our community colleges, career and technical, those unemployed, but doing a work-based project where they're using skills that they're going to use in the workplace, because that's where the rubber meets the road. They can learn math and English and the skills they need, but until they get it in an environment where they apply it, that's where it really matters. There's so many young people that are graduating, not at the fault of the teachers or the school divisions, but they're leaving with what they think is a big skill set, and then life is smacking them right in the face because they've not had an opportunity to necessarily apply it. I know there's initiatives going on in this area, in this region right now to rectify that situation, but we need that. We need more. We need to listen to what the businesses need, get their involvement, and start doing some work for the businesses that the kids can get their heads on.
Thank you. All right, so from a workforce development perspective, what are we doing right or wrong in our efforts in Southwest Virginia to connect potential workers to the right business, to the right employer?
We spend so much time talking about what we need to do better, right? But we do a lot right.
Yes, we do. We do a whole lot right. And I've actually had the pleasure to join both of the workforce development boards through the business services teams in visits to some of the businesses with other resource providers, and having those connections to those businesses cannot be overstated. It is absolutely critical to have those connections. So I think that's something that is absolutely we're doing right. I think that there's many other things that we're doing right. Whenever we have the opportunity to have incumbent worker programs where we can help support businesses, and I say we because I feel like I'm a part of all of it. I was in that at one time. So we're able to put, employees into, that are currently in businesses, and we're able to upskill them, provide funding to help train for that upskilling, and help that employee actually move up to a higher wage level. Those things have impacts, big impacts on the people in our region, on our people, right?
Remind me, I owe you $5 for that plug, so thank you very much.
One of the specific projects that I want to kind of put out there, and I think that, in my opinion, it's best practice, but with Summit America, they took on a feat back in 2020 to open up a new nonprofit training center in the region called the Center for Manufacturing Excellence. Sometimes I question their judgment, but they did hire me to come on board and run that and get it set up. And we have really changed our model and how we train. So it's training for manufacturers by manufacturers because they know best what they need. And we have truly had a collaboration of solution in one aspect with the New River Workforce, New River Mount Rogers Workforce Development Board. I usually put NRW, I put the initials. And they have a youth build program, and also working in collaboration with People Inc. and the Goodwill of the Valleys, Goodwill Industries of the Valley, where we enrolled young people who were involved in their youth build. They enrolled with the Center for Manufacturing Excellence, where we provide training in a hybrid model, online learning with hands-on labs, and then with the practical work experience. And it was hosted by Summit America. We had access to their quality engineers, their lead engineer, their training specialists. We had access to their HR manager, their plant manager. So these young people are coming in who would otherwise be lost. They were lost. And they were enrolled, they did online learning, and they'd come in for a lab. They'd learn about blueprint reading on online learning management system, then they'd come in for a lab. And so once they completed that, they did a practical. Our first cohort was a small one because we want to make sure it did work. And they were all hired at SOMIC and working full-time, making $20 an hour. And these are young people who it changed their lives. So I think more of the employers getting involved, really focusing on the skill set they need and making it hands-on is absolutely key. We're doing that right.
So I guess I'm going to jump in here and talk about some of the things or one of the things I think that we could do better as a workforce group in the region. This post-COVID era has been, economists have called this the biggest shift in the way that we live and work since after World War II. And so we're still trying to get our minds wrapped around this new workforce and what they're looking for. We've got a new generation of workers coming in, what they're looking for as far as work. And so, and how do we train those workers and get them connected with the businesses? And so, that's been a particular challenge that we're still working through. How do we recruit these workers? How do we retain them? What are they looking for? How is work going to be structured post-COVID? And so I think we're still working through some of that. So I think it's a continuing effort.
I don't really have anything to add to that. I think you all did a fantastic job answering that.
Okay, so last question, which could be a little bit loaded here. So what does our higher ed, but let's look at that as anything post-secondary education and training, what does our higher ed community need to know from our businesses in the region that would help them better prepare the upcoming workforce?
Stay tuned, listen to the keynote. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, this keynote better be really, really good.
Just you wait and see.
Because now I'm like,
Just you
should I
wait and
say
see.
something? Do I need to wait and see what they say? Can I reserve an opportunity to come back later and answer this?
No,
question?
go ahead and answer
No.
the question, Stephanie.
Well, the only thing that I missed was an opportunity to talk about what we need to work on. And I totally missed that. But I always have to say that we live in a wonderful, beautiful place with all kinds of opportunities. And while I appreciate all efforts to bring in new, we have to make our existing business our number one priority, because if we can't get it right with them, we can't get it right with anybody. So, and the stronger our employers are here and they're growing and they're supporting, other businesses will want to come here, and it's going to make our jobs of our economic development professionals a little bit easier. We have folks that travel and they spend so much time and they have a lot of success, but it really does put a real strain when we're already lacking with the people that we have right now. I say we need to focus. They're here, they're already contributing to our community programs and our Little League programs. They will grow. We have to help them. We have to make them a priority, no matter what. And we don't do the most awesome job at that.
Anybody else? Well, that's what we have. Does anybody have a question for anybody on our panel before we go? You just want us to go so you can get to the keynote.
I will say one thing about the area, and it's one thing that working with our friends with Apple that they commented continually through this process is that because when we were talking about the Southwest Virginia Code, one thing I said to them, I said, we're basing the models we're looking at were Chicago and Montgomery County, Maryland, which is bigger. The county is bigger than most of the region. So we were looking at all the different things. And I said, whatever we do here can't look like those same models. And one of the things that they've continually told us is that they love the collaboration here. Our schools collaborate, our businesses collaborate. We all kind of pull together, and I think that's what makes this area phenomenal. It's what makes us stand out, and I think that's what makes us attractive to people to stay here, but also people to come and live here with as well. I've got lots of friends around the state who are looking down here going, we really want to come back to Southwest Virginia. And I'm like, well, come on. We're open. Come on. We're excited to have you.
I have a question.
So I will speak where we are right now, and I have worked with both the workforce development boards for years, working with the school systems and the community colleges. And while they have curriculums in place, we really did need something a little different for our manufacturers, because we have individuals who might not want to go to community college, who didn't finish high school. The collaboration that we've had with New River Mount Rogers Workforce Development Board and others has truly been amazing. And I have a meeting with Tiffany and Alita here by the end of the month, where we got several projects, simulated workplace and some others that we're going to get in place. What I do find is that collaboration is very possible. I think that while we are good at it and we're a lot better than other places, I still think that we can do better. I still think there's some silos in some places, and territorialism, and it's a competition. Listen, I don't want to compete with anybody. And when I work with Marty and her folks and with Rachel and her folks, we all come because we find out what each person needs to come out of it. We design it, and then we friggin' do it. And so that's what we got to do more often. But we do have it, but we just need to make sure that those people who are not at the table, we need to get them there. And some of those people that are not there are the ones kind of holding us back. We got to get them there.
I would tell you the collaboration we are seeing is, I've worked trying to train teachers for the teacher shortage across Virginia. But we work primarily with Superintendent Region 7, which is everything from Pulaski to Lee County and everything in between. And those school divisions are rock stars of collaboration. They meet, the superintendents meet monthly, the key instructional leaders, which is usually their assistant superintendents, meet. Our tech directors, I once asked them if I bring donuts, will you guys come to meetings and talk to each other? And they said sure, and they've continued that beyond the time that I was facilitating those things, because there's problems that we all encounter. We're all dealing with some similar problems. It may look a little different in Giles County than it does in Lee County, but there's a lot of commonalities. And when I can talk to another person who's in my same role, who's tackling in a different way there. And they're also, when we do grant opportunities, I can't write a grant for one county, I have to write it for 19. And I have to give them the opportunity. And I know David and his team here at the Higher Ed Center are the same way. They're looking at this region. How can we benefit the whole region? So there's a lot of collaboration there. And I love the fact that, when I call Sonia up and ask for some help and support, that her and her team jump right in and do it and help me. If I can't be somewhere over here, or I can't do something, we can talk about it. And there's a lot of talent that you can call upon. And so for me, that collaboration has been phenomenal in the K-12 sector.
Melanie, that's a loaded question. How many county administrators we have in the room? I know we got one. X, okay.
Next one.
X, I didn't even know that. Yep. Anyway, we do have a lot of collaboration that goes on between the schools with one another. We have a few localities that do put a lot of effort into reaching out to existing business and industry to collaborate. But I mean, we'll listen to the keynote and we'll hear more about it. I think there's a struggle there where we're missing a key connection between our industry, manufacturers, business community, and our educators. And how we can bridge that gap, I think, is something that we really need to be thinking hard and, really seeking a solution to. That gap is pretty wide from where I sit and from the businesses that I talk to. Some of them have great success, others have none. But if I had to put a number on it, the major majority of our business community doesn't feel as connected to the education system as they would like to be.
Okay, so before John gives us the hook, because he's standing there, let's give our panel a round of applause. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we'll pull that table forward. It was cutting out.
According to the cheat sheet, I'm up next. I'm Donald Purdy, and I'm a board member for Appalachian Council for Innovation and have been with this organization for about 22 years. It's hard to believe. It's over 2 decades worth, but here I stand. What I want to talk about tonight is the website called In Appalachia. And to give you a little bit of history about In Appalachia, inappalachia.com is an idea that I had many years ago, and the idea is to get as many websites and companies on a common platform. I know somebody called Google has already done that. However, when you type in Wise County, you'll get about 5 different Wise counties scattered across the country. If you do that in Appalachia, you get one, the right one, might add. And that goes true for Washington counties. There's 2 Washington counties that are almost butt up against one another right here locally. So that can be a problem. So the idea was to get local businesses in one area so that you can see what all is here. Because we do have a lot in southwestern Virginia. We have a tremendous amount of industry scattered all across our vast region. And it is a big region when it takes about 3 hours to drive from one side of it to the other. So collaboration is needed. It's being done. I suspect in fact, I know it could be done a lot more if we had a common place where people could come and see what we got. One of the things I heard the panelists talking about was the parents don't know what's here. And I don't disagree with that at all. I think that is a problem. And they think that the children have to leave in order to better themselves when they actually do not. If they had a place where they could go and see the opportunities that do exist in our area, and there are a tremendous amount of opportunities, from electrical to manufacturing, you name it, we can just about have it in southwestern Virginia. Plus, manufacturers need to know what resources are local as well. And that's where I think we're coming up short. We reach outside of our region when we could be shopping locally. Now, locally means 3 or 4 hours away maybe, but that's still better than California, New York, or wherever. Educators, they do a great job in our area. And again, the panel's alluded to this, but it's getting everybody together. Businesses know exactly what they need. And one example that we can refer to that I'm involved with to a certain extent, Norris Built Fabrication has hired worked with the local vocational school in Wise County. They had 5 students that wanted to, that were in the welding program, and they wanted to get some experience. So Ron Norris, the owner of Norris Built Fabrication, said, we'll bring them in as apprentices, if you will, journeymen. So he did. And 5 were hired, 5 graduated from high school at the end of their half a year that left for their senior year, and 5 now have full-time jobs, straight out of high school. It's doable, it works, we are doing it. We've got another one that she wanted to be a welder, and so Ron hired her, and sure enough, she can outproduce most, and that is not an exaggeration. She's 16 years old. It's amazing what we can do in this region. We got the skill set, we got the talent. We just got to make people aware of where we are and what opportunities are available. That said, we are, right now in Appalachia is a standalone website. We are going to be moving it under the Appalachian Council for Innovation website. You can imagine that COVID, we launched this just about a day and a half before COVID hit. Timing is everything, folks. Oh boy. So it got off to a little bit of a slow start, but we're gaining ground. But we're going to go ahead and move it underneath there, and I thought there was going to be a slide up there to show that. There it comes. And so we're also going to be offering it free beginning September the 1st for some period of time. Not sure how long that's going to be just yet, but for those of you that do have active subscriptions, we will stop your subscription at this point, and whenever the time goes back to continue charging for the website, then your subscription will carry on. So I would encourage every business, every school, every organization to sign up for In Appalachia. Now is the best time to do it because it's not going to cost you a nickel. And get your ideas, your name out there. We're putting an events calendar in. I think that's going to be up fairly soon. That's going to cover all of the southwestern Virginia. So if you've got an event that you want to put out there, we can put it up there for you. Things like that. So learn more about southwestern Virginia through In Appalachia, because we are in Appalachia, you know, and it's a great place to be. It's a great place to raise a family, and a great place to work. And I can tell you, working with the people in this area is just a blast. It's just good folks, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Clemens. I'm the founder and CEO of Gigabeam Networks and the Vice President of ACI. It's my honor tonight to present the second 2023 Innovation Award. Buchanan Pump Sales and Service, an iconic pump, as most businesses right now, has struggled with gaining the workforce they need to match needed labor force with the company product and service demand growth. Led by Bethany and Jason Rose, the company has approached growth through an inside-out and outside-in focus. They have had incredible growth since 2020 that has produced unforeseen challenges requiring innovative solutions. One area they have identified as significant challenge has been gaining and maintaining the needed workforce with necessary skills set to meet operational needs. Bethany and Jason have focused on meeting this challenge head-on by creating a culture that makes Buchanan Pump Sales and Service and Iconic Pump employers of choice. Upon understanding the significant needs associated with getting new employees where they could be more productive for the business, and the challenge of making sure existing employees who are being moved up into supervisory roles have the skills needed to make the new challenges, Bethany sprung into action and developed an internal training and leadership program to ensure their people had the knowledge they need. Along with the development of a training program, Jason and Bethany established a cultural foundation that ensured employees were truly embraced by the business and shown the values the business placed on them and helped them to understand the values they could bring to the business. Not all innovative solutions are technical in nature, and the ones implemented by Buchanan Pump Sales and Service and Iconic Pump to help them meet their workforce and labor's needs was not. The best solutions oftentimes are the simplest ones, and their people-centric, work family-focused approach provided a truly innovative set of solutions that is helping them to become employers of choice. Let's welcome, I guess Bethany and Jason Rose are here for their award.
Oh, wow. What a surprise. What an honor. I think when you put your heart into something, I think it kind of shows. So we're very passionate about what we do. We're very passionate about our people, and we're honored and fortunate enough to have several of them here with us tonight. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I could go on and on, but we're so grateful. More than anything, all the things that he said, we're grateful to have an opportunity to lead the people that are on our team, all of us together working towards a common goal. So thank you guys so much.
Good evening again. I want to thank each and every one of you all for coming. It was great turnout this evening. I also want to make sure that we recognize all of our sponsors, the Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation, Crutchfield, the Higher Ed Center, GigaBeam, CreatorCon, Food City, Southwest Virginia Alliance for Manufacturing, Commonwealth Systems, Iconic Pump, the Cannon Pump, Gen Edge, SOMIC America, UVA WISE, and the Center for Applied Research and Technology. It's now my pleasure to introduce the keynote. And these individuals who are actually going to be a part of this keynote address, I've had the pleasure and been blessed to work with them for several years now. And I've been blown away by their insight, by their capability, by their ability to embrace change that was both happening to them and change that they wanted to bring forth and make their businesses incredibly successful. They're going to introduce themselves, so I'm not going to go into their biographies. I'll just call them up and let them get started. We're going to have Bethany Rose with Iconic Pump, Melanie Proddy Lawrence with Lawrence Brothers, and Jason Breeden with AMR PIMCO. If you all could come on up, we'll get the keynote started.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bethany Rose. As a 16-year-old, I had big dreams to move to Florida, become a bartender, and eventually open up my own bar. But as you can see, God had a very different plan for my life. I am the vice president of Buchanan Pump Service. It's a family business that we celebrate 50 years next year. We have locations in West Virginia, Virginia, Illinois, and a new location coming to Lexington, Kentucky at the end of the year. We are like a one-stop pump shop. So we do new pump sales, custom pump systems, fabrication, installation, and we also do remanufacturing. Alongside running Buchanan Pump Service, I co-own Iconic Pump Company located in Kingsport, Tennessee, and we are a manufacturer of multi-stage business pumps, and we ship those coast to coast. We also have plans to develop another location in the Longview, Tyler, Texas area in the next coming years. That paved the way for Jason and I and my father to start an import company, and we also have an aviation business. I admit that's a lot of hats to wear, right? But my most favorite hats are those that have to do with my family. My high school sweetheart and my best friend, Jason, you guys got to meet him just a few minutes ago. We've been married for 29 years, and I have a 28-year-old daughter named Presley that lives in Oklahoma City. And I also have my daughter, Ella, who's with me tonight, is 24, and she actually works in our family businesses. My family has also housed over 20 young adults from all over the country. Their time with my family ranged from anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 years, depending on what they need. So I know you're probably thinking this lady runs on a lot of caffeine and carbs, or maybe she's a real-life superhero. Although I do run a lot of caffeine and carbs, and I love rain, I have one every single morning as soon as I get done in the gym downstairs. I would like to share a quick story with you about being a superhero. I bought my newest motorcycle. I love to ride. I learned to ride just a few years ago because you know what? We need to always challenge ourselves to do something new. And I got tired of being on the back of my husband's bike. But anyway, I digressed for a moment. I got my new motorcycle a few months back, and I wanted a namer because everything that I own, I give it a name. Any other girls in here do that? So I name it. If I name it, we have a boat. She's named, my car's name. And so anyway, I wanted to transform her into something that reflects me. And so one weekend, I was talking over my plans with my daughter, Ella, and I said, I want her to be a total bad, I don't want to. Can I cuss? I wanted her to be a total badass. But like a superhero, but I didn't want to be arrogant with that. So my daughter responded back to me, Mom, you are our superhero. You're like our family's own life Wonder Woman. So after some inner reflection, Josie Ray, my Tiger Triumph 900 GT, now has a custom powder-coated black holographic glitter paint job and a Wonder Woman theme. Because I choose to see myself the way my family sees me, a superhero, because I've learned not all superhero wears capes and leap tall buildings. Some superheroes get up every day. We go grind at our jobs. We try our best to be a good community supporter. And then most importantly, we try to give our very best to our families, only to crash at night and get up the next morning to do it all over again. Any working moms in the room? Yeah, 60 and 70 hours a week with a 1-year-old and 3-year-old building our business. I want to switch gears a bit and tell you how I went from this teenage girl that my guidance counselors told me that college just isn't for you. You're aiming too high. We're just glad you're graduating, to the leader and owner of several multi-million-dollar companies. I started in my father's business, Buchanan Pump Service, in high school, and back then it was called the Secretary's Helper. We didn't have some of the fancy names we have today. She saw me as a threat and made my job really miserable. She would go as far as to lie to management and my dad and tried her best to get me fired. It was a really rough couple of years. Little did we know when she quit, she was actually stealing money from our company. No wonder she wanted me gone. Fast forward to 1995, I was on a 2-week unpaid maternity leave. Gotta love working for a family business. Be very jealous of that. And my dad came home one night and said, Sis, you're going to be our new human resource manager. And I said, Dad, what is a human resource manager? And he said, I have no idea, but I read it in a business magazine that companies are now hiring them. And so if they're hiring them, we need one too. The next week, I came off of maternity leave, began to do my homework and figure out what my job would consist of. And the following week, I was the newly crowned human resource manager. In 1999, Jason and I moved our family to West Virginia to build a branch. After seeing that success at that branch, we then built a branch in Illinois. That 20 years of experience led us to taking the helm of Buchanan Pump Service. And then in 2019, Jason and I got to see our personal decade-long dream come true of Iconic Pump Company. That brought about the opportunity to start our import company and then our aviation business. Hopefully you see the theme here of just being faithful over what you've been given. I admit my start into leadership is not like a lot of the others at this table. I was sort of thrown in head first. I was either going to sink or swim, and as you can see today, I chose to swim. Thank you.
Well, that's hard to follow because Bethany's definitely a superhero, but I'll try. I think the theme of your bio is definitely consistency, and part of what we want to have a conversation, an engaged conversation about tonight is change, and consistency is nothing but slow, patient change. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Melanie Proddy Lawrence, and I am the president of Lawrence Brothers in Bluefield, Virginia. We are also a third-generation, family-owned and operated manufacturing business. My grandfather started the business in a 3-car garage back in 1974, so we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary of being in Tazewell County next year. Started the business obviously from very humble beginnings to build mine battery trays or steel enclosures for the underground mining industry. It was something he never thought he'd do. He actually used to work in the coal mines, as did my maternal grandfather. He was actually in the mines back in the days as an Italian immigrant who carried the canary in to see if it was safe for the humans that were going in, and worked his way up to mine boss. So mining runs deep, right? In my roots, I get that, I understand that, I respect that. But you're not building coming generations on what the past generations were built on. And so that's one reason that we have to embrace change. So I come from a family of 4 girls. I'm the oldest. None of us were ever really interested in the business other than going down and hanging out and walking around trying not to get knocked out with a sheet of steel. OSHA was not a big deal back in the day, not as big as it is now. And the Lawrence brothers actually died with my grandfather and his brother. There were no Lawrence brothers after that. My father had 2 sisters, no brothers, and so I feel like subconsciously part of hyphenating my last name was knowing in the future I would come back full circle to the family business. So my husband and I moved back to Southwest Virginia, to Bluefield, 16 years ago. I definitely came back a little bit kicking and screaming, having been the one that left and lived around the world and said I would never come back. So never say never. But at the same time, this is one of the absolute most beautiful places on earth. And I love the region that we live in and the town that I come from. In spite of all of the misgivings, right? And in spite of being small town rural America, I think we're a diamond in the rough. So Lawrence Brothers, when we came in 2007, we were 98% coal mining related, and business was booming. My father told us that he was wanting to retire. I think Jason Breeden was actually working with him at that point. He was in his 50s and wanting to retire was very ambitious. And my husband Fernando and I, Fernando's from Costa Rica, having never really been to rural America. He grew up in a United Nations family. His dad was a diplomat, and he moved every 3 to 4 years, so change was constant in his life. He did not know a life without change. And when we met in Brussels studying our master's degree, he told me when we left, well, I'm coming back with you. And I said, well, I need to tell you about Bluefield first. This is not like Indonesia or Paris or any of these places that you've lived in. He said, well, I love you, so I'm coming. So I thought, hey, if he makes it, maybe he's the one, right? If he can handle my dad and handle Bluefield, he'll be good to go. So we moved back to Bluefield, stayed for a little while, and we're kind of traveling back and forth between Washington, D.C. We studied international law and international relations. So really my heart was working with displaced people and with refugees. And Fernando's heart was in humanitarian law. So very different than manufacturing, very different than anything, that we're doing today. And we did end up moving overseas, and we lived in Ethiopia for a year and worked in refugee camps there. Learned a lot about emergency response, probably one of the most transferable skills that you find in running a small business, especially in rural America, especially during a pandemic. But I think that constant change in our lives early on as a young couple set us up for what was going to be a successful career for us at Lawrence Brothers. So my dad took over the helm of Lawrence Brothers in '93 when my grandfather passed. Barely scraped through high school, was not the person who had college aspirations, very good with his hands, and had been working at Lawrence Brothers, since he was 16 probably. Can do anything out in the shop, and Jason will attest, can do it better than anybody out there. So he would probably still tell you that at 63 years old. But he had to, he was plucked into the management role and the ownership role without a level of critical thinking and education and knowledge for what it was to guide the ship and be that leader that was going to find how people were motivated and keep them moving. And he, despite all of that, he did very well for himself, grew the business to another level with the help of some key individuals. And when Fernando and I came on, the very first thing we said was, whoa, 98% coal mining related, we've got to diversify. How? We have no idea, but we've got to get all of our eggs out of one basket. So we started looking at different offerings, looking at different businesses and different industries. And quite frankly, my dad was, like many of us, very happy with the status quo and happy with, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And then 2008 and 2009 came. And business plummeted, right? Mining plummeted. We had to cut our staff in half. I'm proud to say that's the last time. 2009 was the last time Lawrence Brothers has had to have any layoffs. Since then, we've been growing, and that was because of those diversification seeds that we were planting very early on. So my father retired back in 2018, and Fernando and I took over the helm, and David Graff and I were just talking about what an uphill climb it's been to try to reduce our reliance on coal. That doesn't mean we don't respect coal. That doesn't mean we don't respect where that has gotten us economically. But we know that looking to the future, change has to be a part of the plan. Either it's going to happen to you or you're going to impact it. So today, we're one location, so kudos to both of you guys for being able to run multiple locations. One circus is enough for me. But we are a company of 86, 87 employees, and right in the heart of Bluefield, Virginia, work to employ many individuals who need a fresh start or a second chance, who may be unemployable with other industry. And that's something I'm very proud of, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Jason?
Thank you, Melanie. And I want to say thank you, Sam, for a great back-to-school project, right? I know school starts tomorrow, and you've made us all really think through this. Self-reflection. I don't think I've had such a self-reflection project in a long time, right? And I think we all agree. We were talking about that. It's just to introduce yourself has been a challenge for us because we put our head down and, we're worried about what else is going on around us, not so much what we're doing. But I really would like for you all to give both these ladies another big round of applause because it's been a pleasure to work with them. Yes, I mean, daughters, mothers, sisters, business owners, and it boggles my mind. I'd like to say thank you to my wife tonight who came with me, Crystal, the same, and she runs a big business at our house, right? And that's enough, right? So she works and runs our business. I don't really have a business. I just know I'm worth saying that as much work as I am. I'd also like to say thank you to David Graff, the owner and president of our companies that I represent. I'm going to start off by doing what comes comfortable to me, which is sharing what our companies are. I do it a lot, and yet, Ava, thank you for the app. You know, Bubbles, I've been relying on that, right? 2 or 3 people, I can talk well. A whole room, I need some anxiety stuff, right? So you and Cooper, great job. Good job on the artwork too, Ava. And before they get a chance, we do want to hire you. So come see me at CMS, because they'll be trying to get you in a heartbeat, right? But no, start off about our companies. We all started in coal, right? This area, such a rich area, such diversity, such background. All of these businesses that we represent tonight started in coal mining. And I started in coal mining as a person, but we'll get to that in a minute. Our companies, the companies I represent at American Mine Research, started in 1974. Bob Graff had a vision, designed a product, which one of those products now is the modern day canary, so that people don't have to carry that bird in anymore. Started off with ground fault monitoring systems for mining, and we built a whole lot of OEM products at American Mine Research. So we've never let go of those roots, but as Melanie said, and Bethany said, we've had to pivot away from what we do, right? And we'll talk about that in a moment as well. After American Mine Research was founded, again, talking about needing things, Bob Graff realized that he needed sheet metal fabricated parts, electromechanical assembly to make what he had designed. So he went out and bought some equipment, started, a little business called East River Metals, where he was building his own product, but had a lot of capacity with that equipment, and said, hey, I can take that out into the marketplace and build things for other people. And that grew an enormous business from there, where East River Metals grew into custom manufacturing services in Princeton, West Virginia. And ultimately, the Graffs, around 7 years ago, nearly 7 years ago, bought PIMCO, which was a sort of a competitor and a customer of American Mine Research for underground mining power centers. PIMCO also makes large industrial buildings, switchgear, a whole lot of things. So we kind of bring all of these talents together, from our OEM design products, sheet metal fabrication on a very high contract level. We do work for big names like Eaton, Bosch, Big Ass Fans, gosh, there's a whole host of them. In medical, we do Bayer Medical. So we're this little company in southern West Virginia in the mining world that reaches out into vast market spaces. We've won multiple awards overseas, and it's really an honor to work in that. And it gives me a place that I have no boundaries, right? I can reach out and just about touch anything with what we do. And David will tell you that's a bad thing right now for him, because we need people, right? We need people, we need skilled people, and that's what we're going to talk about more tonight. But to me, very quickly, I can sum this up, and people get a giggle, so go ahead. A while back, I came to David and I said, I want a title. I want something that really defines who I am. There's a lot of business development managers. There's people who are vice presidents, do these things. But for me, I feel like I'm a solutionist. I'm not a salesman. I don't have a thing to sell. But I have a wonderful group of people who come together every day and build marvelous products. They can read prints from people all over the world, manufacture things to extremely high tolerances, and provide quality products to people every day. And that's what I represent. I'm a solutionist. I go to people and ask all the time, what's your problem? How can I help you? What can we do to make your business better? And that really defines who I am as a person too, because I started out, nobody really gave me much of an inspirational speech on going to college. My dad was a hardworking man. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I had a wonderful family, raised me with love and anything that you could want. But nobody really said, here's what you're going to do next. So I woke up one day and realized that the school bus that went by me wasn't going to pick me up that day, and I needed to get out and do something. So I started knocking on the door at a company up in Beckley that you may be familiar with in West Virginia, Phillips Machine Service. And I hassled the owner of Phillips Machine Service, one of the two brothers, for around 3 months. I went to his office once a week, and I would come in, and at first he said, just go to school, go to college, get an education, do something. I didn't do that. You need to do that. I said, I don't know, I really like working with my hands. I like building things. And I continued and was persistent with that until one day he just threw up his hand. He didn't say anything. He said, go see Kenny Painter. You got a job. Just don't come back in my office, okay? Just go to work, do what you want to do. We're here if you need something. And I literally the first day grabbed a number 4 coal shovel and shoveled coal off of a coal miner. And from there, I have worked and persisted through my life. If you want to define what that is, I'm 30 years of skill set development in a lot of different backgrounds. I have worked as a geophysical engineer, a quality manager, a plant manager, business development manager, solutionist. I have worked in the recycling industry. I've put in a large automobile shredder system. So I have touched a lot of things in my background. And the one thing that I decided that day when I saw that school bus go by is nobody's going to do it for me. I've got to figure it out. I've got to be the collaborator. And in collaboration, somebody has to be that igniter, that spark. And that's what I decided I had to be for me, right? Nobody else is going to come knocking on my door and offer me a job, so I better start knocking on somebody else's. And tonight, that's what we really want to talk about is how do we inspire our young people, adults who have lost their jobs, who were hardworking individuals, generational families who worked underground or worked at places like American Mine Research. We've had people, I think our average tenure, and David can correct me, is probably around 18 years of service across 300 people. We've had several people work over 40 years at our company. But you know what? The people that we've hired in the last 10 years, we can barely keep 2. And there's a lot of rapid change going on, as these ladies said, and we've got to figure out how to capture that, stop it to some extent, and be the driver of that change and not let that change drive us anymore. So tonight, what we want to do is share a little bit more about our companies and how we contribute. We want to share a little bit about what we think and the stories that we're seeing and what we think the direction of young people are in education. And then we want to share maybe our view of a blueprint quickly of how we can collaborate. And let me say this to every educator in here from this county, you can plug your ears, right? Because hats off to you. You a round of applause. Matter of fact, I think we're going to probably buy a school bus and take you guys around and just train all the other counties, right? So you have done a wonderful job. I almost feel like we don't have to say anything if you guys just come up and reiterated what you said. But we're going to share a little bit about ourselves and then, open the floor to some questions and comments.
So you're right, Sam, that was a little bit of a loaded question in asking what counties you were talking about. We already knew the answer. The work that Eric Workman and his group with Mount Rogers has done is phenomenal. I've had the pleasure of talking with David Matlock, the executive director of the Higher Ed Center, and the work that they're doing in Washington County is also, needs to be noted. So let's set that caveat with our 2 companies are in Tazewell County and Mercer County, West Virginia, and Bethany's in Buchanan County, Wise County, I'm sorry. We are the black holes, people. We'll just go ahead and start with that. We are living where, for whatever reason, those collaborations are like getting up here and dropping the F-bomb. Competition is the name of the game, and collaboration is a bad word. But we're here to dispel that, and we're here to talk about ways that that we have been collaborating and that we hope to continue to collaborate to crawl out of that hole, because we've been there too long, and we're sick of barking up that same tree, right? So for us, that ever-increasing gap between education and businesses and what we need as business owners, it's just getting further and further apart. So we need the right people in the right places to be able to start that collaboration and start that conversation, okay? To me, we're here to show you the 3 businesses that are involved. As business owners, we are involved. We are involved in our counties. We're going and speaking to the community colleges, to the career and technical centers, to the superintendents, to the principals, to whoever will listen to us. And there's lip service being paid at best. But we're going to pull on all of you guys and set out some action points to get you all to help us so that we can bring our 2 counties and the other counties that are lagging behind up to the standard that we expect in Southwest Virginia. So right now, it's clear to us in our schools that our kids are not receiving the education that they need currently or in the future. In our family business, I just employed my 15-year-old son for the last 3 weeks of summer, and he's been running our robotic welder. And the number one reason that I forced him to work, yes, forced him, was because he told me, Mom, I don't want to work at Lawrence Brothers because it's too dirty down there for me. And I said, well, you just sealed your fate, son. Let's go to Walmart and get you some Carhartts, and you're going to work. Well, he didn't. He passed on the Carhartts, so now he's ruined all of his jeans, which now he'll have to pay for out of his paycheck. But he learned what a hard day of work was. He learned to run the robot. He learned to use grinders and get down in the middle of trays and clean, and he learned what he did not want to do with his life, right? But he also learned that these guys out here were putting in a hard day of work every single day, a hard, honest day of work, and he became friends with some of them. I will say his father did fire him 2.5 weeks in because one day he came in on Monday morning this week and had a bad attitude. So he got fired, and his mouth dropped open, and he said, you can't fire me. You can't fire me for a bad attitude. He said, we just fired 2 this morning for just that reason. So he said, no, I have a good attitude, I'll correct it, I'll get back to work, and he did, but that was his last day. But we're looking for innovative solutions to engage these young people, and this is a young man who knows some hard work. He's not been coddled. He's heard all of these stories and heard me say, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, but we had to show him, right? So why are these 3 business leaders here to discuss educational shortfalls? What gives us credibility to be here talking to you guys? And really what gives us credibility is that we're working this day in and day out. We're seeing these kids come out of school. We've seen astronomical challenges with employing and upskilling not just kids, but 20-somethings, 30-somethings, especially in the last 3 years. So let me give you some combined stats of our 3 companies. So in 2020, in the throes of COVID, not only did our 3 companies survive that pandemic, but we grew. And the things that enabled us to do that are the same things that we want to encourage our educators and our parents, starting at home, right, to instill in our kids. Number 1 is resilience. Just because someone tells you no or your dad fires you your 3rd week into employment doesn't mean you give up, right? You've got to keep going. Determination, innovative decision making. I'm sure that's something that Heather and Stephanie, that they told you from Apple, is that they were finding some of the most innovative individuals and innovative thinkers here in Southwest Virginia. We possess that. We need to promote that. We need to brag on that. We need to not say, come to Southwest Virginia, you can pay our people less. No, you cannot. You can pay us the same because our minds are just as good as the people in Richmond or the people in DC or wherever. So that's one thing, right? Innovative decision making and the drive to keep pushing forward. Those were the things that are commonalities between the 3 of us. So combined in 2020, we had sales of $60 million. Our employee count among the 3 of us was 389 employees with an average wage of $15 an hour. Come to 2022, leading into 23, these are our figures. We're boasting just over $100 million in sales. Our employee count went from 389 to just 454. So that tells you a little bit about the workforce we're encountering, right? Our combined tax went from being over 15 million annually to 35 million. And our average wage went up 25% to $20 an hour. And when you work in our benefits package, we're looking at closer to $40 an hour. Again, that's on average among the 3 of our businesses. We're all paying competitively. We're all upskilling our people. And more importantly, we are meeting our people where they're at. And all of the Buchanan Pump service people that are here today can tell you, can attest to that, to the culture that you guys have created in your company. Kudos to that. So what I want you guys to look at is that's a 25% increase in wage in 3 years, but we've had more than 50% growth in revenue. And could you guys grow more? if you had more skilled workforce right now? If you had more skilled workforce? Could you guys? 20%. Yeah. So we have averaged out that we could actually grow in the next 3 years more than 100% where we're at right now. And the number one thing holding us back is not raw materials cost. It's skilled employees. It's employees that come in and, quite frankly, have the durable skills, possess the durable skills to come in and know maybe you shouldn't wear pajamas to an interview. Maybe, or you definitely shouldn't bring your girlfriend to an interview or your mama. If you bring your mama, you just turn right back around, right? These durable skills are things that, for whatever reason, and in our counties, I'll put that as a caveat, they're not being taught in K through 12. And they're not being taught in career and technical centers, and they're not being taught in the community colleges. Either that, or the kids are all wearing their AirPods the entire time. And maybe they are. My son, I know, always wears his. So anyhow, we have a projected growth of over 100%. But that is what's holding us back. And to me, the thing that keeps workforce from being able to develop is the lack of collaboration. We've already heard from Stephanie and from Heather and from Rachel and from Sam about how the counties that are represented in this room, you guys are doing it right. You guys have got it right. So please don't leave before we can very humbly give you some homework for how to interact with some of the decision makers in our county and help bring us up to the level that we anticipate and the level that we expect here in Southwest Virginia. So I want to tell a little story about meeting people where they're at, and then I'm going to hand it off to Bethany. One thing that was near and dear to my heart when I came in back to Bluefield to take over Lawrence Brothers is I saw the high level of incarceration that we had, and I saw how the opioid and drug epidemic in general had a grip on our communities and on our region. And I just thought, these were probably kids who did not have the strong two-parent household or engaged parental upbringing that clearly Ava and Cooper have, that clearly those of us here have, and many of you in the audience had. These were people whose guidance counselors did tell them, well, dang, it's a good thing you're graduating. We sure didn't think that you'd even make it here. Or they would tell the stories that my dad would tell me that the guidance counselor told him. Kids these days are not even getting FaceTime with guidance counselors because the guidance counselors right now are the mental health professionals who are just trying to talk a kid, not a kid. In Tazewell County, at least at Graham High School, they have an average of seeing 15 kids a day just talking them out of suicidal thoughts. How scary is that? They don't have time to talk to them about college, much less about trades. They don't have time to break down those stigmas or those mindsets of why you should go to a two-year institution or why we should maybe just hook you up with a company here locally to see if using your hands or to see if you're mechanically inclined to get into the workforce. So change is happening to us right now, but we have to take on change. And one thing that I brought in that I decided to change was we were going to offer a blank slate for people. So we have one individual who came to us freshly out of jail for a petty drug charge. Young man, he started with us in 2019, right before COVID, and he started in, we call it in the dungeon. Nobody wants to work in the dungeon. You're using a grinder, you've got metal dust all over you, you go home and it's everywhere. It's embedded in your skin, which was also where I started my son, by the way, 2 weeks ago. I made him start there as well. And he started at $12 an hour and just doing the grunt work. But he had a mindset that he was going to pull himself up, he was not going to go back to jail, and he was going to eventually be able to fight for custody of his one-year-old son. So 2003, this young man leads our day shift labor force, which is 75 individuals, and he makes $25 an hour, 4 years' time, and he now has shared custody of his son. And he's had to miss a lot of work because of going to court. He's had to miss a lot of work to get his license back and to get his life back on track. But as an employer, you have to meet your people where they are. If you want them to become not only productive members of your team, They have to be able to go and earn back their life, right? Earn back their rights that they lost for bad decisions they made or mistakes that they made, that any one of us in this room have also probably done many of these things, and we just didn't get caught, guys. Or we had a privilege that maybe some of these people didn't have. So to me, that Fresh Start program is very important, and this young man is quite a success story for us. And we're proud to say that right now 35% of our workforce are Fresh Start employees, so people who were either formerly incarcerated or recovering addicts.
So you can tell that we really love our communities. Jason and I have the opportunity. We could live in Illinois, West Virginia. We could be moving to Lexington, Kentucky. We have the opportunity if we wanted to move to Tyler, Texas. But we love this area and we love this community. This is where I was born and raised. And where even our daughter and my daughter that lives in Oklahoma City wants to move back, and us all live on a farm. So I think it's really important that, you know, even though we see this disconnect, there's a part of us that it really is pulling for the educational system and the workforce to come together, because we're willing to give and we need the educational system to give so that we can stay here. I love my community. You know, when I first moved to the area, we moved to West Virginia for a long time, and then we came back and we lived in a very rural area. Our children had grown up on a farm, and we moved into a neighborhood over in Kingsport, and we had knocks at the door, and people were welcoming us to the neighborhood, and I'm telling Jason, get the gun, somebody's at our door. So a totally different kind of atmosphere for sure. But I wanted to share just a few minutes about some of the things that Buchanan Pump Service and Iconic Pump Company are doing that's a little different. Because how many of you in this room woke up this morning and said, you know what, I would love to get a really nice multi-stage pump to go in my living room. Let me get on Amazon and find something that I can get some free Prime shipping. Said no one ever, right? So it just doesn't happen that people grow up and want to go into the pump business. So some of the things that we're doing, our branch managers and our operations managers with myself do all the interviews. So it's really, really important for me to do that. Bethany, you have a lot of different states to cover. Yes, I do. So I either get on the company plane and I go to an interview, or I get on Zoom, or I drive. Because it's really important to me, how can I create a culture in our company that is a reflection of my DNA if I'm not willing to be involved? I still do all the onboarding with the new staff. I have an operations manager and a branch manager here tonight. They can tell you, I want to be involved because I want to look our new employees in the eye and say, and relay my passion and my dedication. And I want them to see that I'm going to be the one in the room that's going to outwork everybody. And because if they see that I'm a hard worker, they're going to fall in line and they're going to work right along with me, or they're not going to enjoy working there. I take a lot of pride in getting to know our people. Not only do I know our people, I know their spouses, their children, and I could tell you at least one hobby out of 100 plus employees that we have at all of our locations. I make it a priority to connect with all of our people. As soon as I get to a location, instead of going straight to my room and working, I go around to every employee and ask them how they're doing, how's it going, how is your family? The little things go a long way in employment retainment. I want them to know how important they are, because what I have learned is Jason and I have this big vision, and it scares our guys a lot. We're moving to a custom manufacturing facility in the next 2 years. We have a goal of $50 million within the next 2 years. And so we have some, as we call them, big eyes. We have some big dreams. But if we can't grow from within, then we can't get any further. Jason and I cannot get to our next goal of $50 million unless I have the whole team going with us. Something else we're doing is we're establishing mentors and trainers at all of our locations. And if we don't have a specific mentor or trainer in a location, I send a mentor or a trainer to another location, whether I get the plane scheduled and they go somewhere or they get in a car and go. It is really, really important that our new employees have this really great foundation, because if you came on to our field crew team, do you know what a cheater bar is? Do you understand how an overhead crane works? Do you understand the importance of safety glasses? Do you understand that you have to go through safety training? And they learn this whole new vocabulary. And so we are doing a lot of trainers. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think that mentors within the workforce are so important. I think they're the next pivotal level or layer within our companies. They're going to be game changers if we really want to grow our companies. Because let's face it, and I can say this because I'm a parent, our parents have moved away from parenting to on social media and on the phone all the time. And so kids are not learning, so it's not all the educator's fault. I'm a mom that was super involved, and my most prized title in the world is being a mom. And I could take all of this stuff as I've done as a business owner and the success, but if my kids have not turned out great, I have absolutely failed them. So educators, I have your back on that side. But we have to create mentors at work because our kids are not learning all the things at home that they need to. So if you're offended, it's okay. I've got big shoulders. Something else I did is that intercompany, I created our own team building and leadership. I knew the passion that I had, and Jason and I knew where we wanted to go. And so we were at an aviation conference last October. And I came out of this team building class, and I told my husband, I said, I got fired up, and then I got pissed off, because you know what I realized is that I could talk that team building just as good as anybody in that room, because I love our teams. And he said, well, if you like it, then you should do it. And so you know what? Challenge accepted, babe. I came home and created our own team building curriculum, and I took our teams, all of our locations, we went off-site, and all day long we did team building and learning about personalities, and then we finished it with an escape room. And like I said, a bunch of our team members are here, and they can tell you it was great. Something else we're doing is leadership training. We just got back with all of our branch managers Sunday night. Jason and I took them to Florida and poured into them all day long. We took them to eat. There was no expense that we did not spare on them, because I wanted to know that my guys that make Jason and I, our lives much better, I wanted to pour into them. And how can I expect them to have a heart of gratitude if they don't see it from the leaders and the owners of the company? So if you own your own company, step up and start investing in your people. The last thing that I want to share about that we do that's a little different is we do branch manager weekly branch updates from our branch managers. And they're really crucial to Jason and I and leading the company, because there's only so many places that we can be. We start at Iconic Pump on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're at one of the locations, and we end up at Iconic Pump on Friday. Sometimes it changes, like we were in Texas 2 weeks ago hiring a new salesman. So sometimes I have to pivot a little bit in that. But the one thing that our branch managers, their weekly updates do, is that I know exactly what's going on with our branches. If you're not getting some weekly feedback from those in your leadership, it's really hard to undo what's happened a month ago. But when one of my guys say, I have a problem, I have this concern, and I don't know how to fix it, Jason and I can get on the phone immediately, or I can say, I'll be there tomorrow, and we handle it, because we have to be able to move and articulate quicker than problems come up. When a problem comes up and you don't deal with it for 2 to 3 weeks from now, it is already blown up, and as a leader, you sort of can't undo it. So we also are arming our leadership and our branch managers, our operation managers, to say, listen, we have your back. If you need us, we're there, but we trust you, and we want you to lead your teams. So as I wind up my part, I want to talk about the ups and downs of hiring. This day and age, it's an area that I'm really passionate about, because I don't see the hiring process as a pain. I actually see it quite the opposite. I feel like this is an opportunity for my management team and myself to change somebody's life. So our teams can attest, we always pull for the underdog, and I love when somebody has a story like what Melanie was sharing. I actually had a similar story. He actually went to jail for distributing drugs, but this boy had gotten his life clean. He wanted a second chance, and so I threw out at him, hey, if you're willing to drug test for the next year, anytime that myself or a branch manager or our production manager wants to drug test you, I will hire you, and this is what I'm going to hire you at, and I'm going to give you all of our benefits. And guess what? That guy has accepted, and Sean, is he not one of our highest producers in the shortest time in our repair shop? Because sometimes you just need to give people a second chance. So as I was putting this together, some interesting facts. In 2023, I have personally received over 700 resumes. Yes, 700. I pulled those numbers off of Indeed. I've hired 15 new employees over our locations and 2 more to go. Being in HR, I've had some really interesting stories, as you can imagine. One in Texas just a few weeks ago, our guy had taken a hit of weed in the parking lot and was also on PCP. And I can tell you, his interview was quite interesting. He's the only gentleman I've had to ask to quit cussing multiple times. Multiple times. I had to ask him to please stop. So I wanted to share 2 different stories right quick. One occurred just a few months ago. I had flown into Illinois to do some interviews for a field crew position. And my 1 p.m. interview walks in at 1:03. And if you know me, you know that if you walk in at 1:03, you're not getting an interview, because if you'll show up late to an interview, you're going to show up late to what? Your job, right? And we don't tolerate that. But I'm really glad I took his interview, because this boy shook my hand and he apologized for being late. At 6 a.m., he was down in an oil well on his job, and he worked till 11:45 that day. He ran home, got a shower. He misjudged the time between his house and our location in Illinois. I drug test before every interview so I don't waste my time. And he was a nervous wreck, so I thought, okay, great. He's not going to pass this interview and this drug test. And I'd already sent one guy home that was that could not pass a drug test, and another one that brought his girlfriend into the interview and was offended when I asked her to leave. So I wasn't feeling really hopeful with this guy. But he went ahead and he took the test. He was so nervous, he asked me if I wanted the drug test back. And I explained to him that I wouldn't be reusing it again, that I had plenty with me, but I really appreciate him being conscientious of that. So I asked him a question. I say, what is your biggest strength professionally? And he says, problem solving. So I said, great, I have a problem-solving question for you. A snail is at the bottom of a 30-foot well. Each day he climbs up 3 feet, and at night he slides back 2 feet. How long is it going to take him to get out of that 30-foot well? And this goes either really good or really bad when I ask this interview question, because my overthinkers, they go down a whole nother lane. And I can see his wheels turning, and I can tell that he's overthinking it, right? This is a really intelligent guy. So I hand him a pen and paper, and he begins to write, and I see he's multiplying, and you don't want to multiply at the beginning of this problem. You want to do what? You want to subtract, right? 3 minus 2. And so I begin to repeat the question again, and he sets his pen down, and he looks at me, and he yells, "Holy shit balls, this is the hardest interview I've ever been in my life." Okay, our whole management team has lost it now. We don't really know where to go other than to laugh until the tears quit flowing down our face. And so we gather ourselves, and my next question is, what does loyalty mean to you? He said, well, I got hit in the face I got hit in the face several months ago with a cheater bar, which is like a pipe wrench. It broke my eye socket, my nose. I had to get 12 stitches across my face. But just as soon as I could go back to work, I did, because I knew my men needed me and I didn't want to let them down. Let me tell you something. Holy shit balls was really uncouth, but guess what? He got that job because loyalty to his company and loyalty to his team. I would have never hired him 2 years ago, but I'm going to tell you, I'll take passion over talent any day of the week, and dedication. Now, my second story on the opposite end. This past May, I got a resume from a local high school senior. He had gone to trade schools, had multiple certifications in auto mechanics, glowing references from his teacher, people in the community, and even a mentor. I can't remember the last time I've gotten a resume that has a mentor's recommendation on it. So he had applied with our repair department, and he was really a perfect candidate. So I immediately reached out to him and said, listen, as soon as you graduate and you get through your senior obligations and your senior trip, I would like to interview you. So reach out to me as soon as that's done. I don't hear from him, but in the meantime, I think 2 weeks later, Sean, something like that, we decided to add another repairman. Our workload was increasing, and we didn't want our guys working any more than they already were. They were working, I think, 50 hours a week. So I reached out to him via email and said, hey, we have a repair position open. I would love for you to come in. I don't hear from him for 3 days. So then I texted him and said, hey, so-and-so, this is Bethany. We spoke earlier, just a few weeks ago, and I have a repair position. I would really like you to come in. Didn't hear from him again. Fast forward to August. Sean runs into him at the fair with his mom. And Sean says, hey, man, I thought you really wanted to come and work for us. Bethany tried to get in touch with you, and she never heard back. No, she didn't. I didn't hear from her. And he said, hey, why don't you just check your phone? Look her up. Sure enough, there I am. Hey, so-and-so, this is Bethany Rose with Buchanan Pump Service. I'd love for you to come into an interview. The boy never even opened up my text message. This 18-year-old boy would have been given free health, dental, and life insurance. I paid their entire deductible for a year. He would have got paid time off, uniforms, free tools. His asking pay, his start-out pay was $25,000 a year. If he would have just opened that text message, he would have came to work for me making just south of $50,000. The value of follow-through. He absolutely sold himself short. And so I want Jason to sort of close us out with talking about how we bridge those gaps from workforce and education, and how we collaborate and we work together to get boys like this that have all of the credentialing, they've done all the training, but just don't understand the value of the follow-through.
Well, thank you, Bethany. It's hard to beat her stories, and admittedly, we've already scheduled more meetings after this just so we can hear Bethany tell us stories, right? So we enjoy what we do, all of us setting up here. And Bethany asked the question, how to bridge the gap, and I thought about that. Didn't really want to be cliche or say something that we hear a lot of, and we've all talked about solutions and collaboration tonight. You don't build that bridge with a busload of architects. You don't build that bridge with a busload of bricklayers. You don't build that bridge with guys who cut timber only. But it takes an entire community. My dad passed away several years ago, and one of the things that really did stick with me that he told me, very prophetic, one day is when I was entering into the work world and told him I'd got the job and, what was I going to do. And he said, son, the day's coming that the ditch digger is going to be worth more than the architect. And that's really true. Our country, I believe, in a lot of ways has worked hard to build a lot of architects and make a lot of big promises that you go to school to be an architect, well, we can all build bridges, right? But the reality is it takes a whole community of people to build that bridge, right? It takes people, everyone in their own spot. And I think we have to start as businesses and educators, and to build that bridge, we have to talk about what we need to build those bridges, right? And what I loved about the educators in this room tonight, and Sam, I'm already off script, so you can forget about all the gooey behind me. What we really do need is we do need to meet each other in common ground. We have to realize we both need that bridge built. And on each side, we have a lot of skill set, a lot of talent. And what I liked about this room is you guys are getting out and really you're asking the businesses, and you're asking your current businesses, which is exactly what, you didn't steal our thunder, but you're ahead of what we're saying, right? Because we're in that void. We need businesses to, as businesses, we need to explain what we need, right? So my plan tonight was to say, look, treat us like the customer. I'm a customer guy, right? I work with customers all the time, and the number one thing I have to do is I have to build something that customer wants, a quality product every day, right? And I think what we've lost in this country as a whole, and we've talked about parenting, we've talked about the system itself, is what we really need is we need that blueprint to work together. We need to treat each other, a community, like a machine. And that machine is made of a lot of working parts. And one machine we can all relate to is a vehicle, right? Vehicle generally is made up of a chassis, a power plant, and a driver or a pilot, right? Whether that's an airplane, a boat, it doesn't matter, right? They all have those same components. And you break those components down, you need more detailed components, nuts and bolts and small pieces here and there that make up that machine. And that's really what our community is every one of us is sort of that smaller component. And we have to find our place in this bigger machine that we're creating, right? In this community, we have to help our young people find their place in this machine. And we don't do that by going out and training people to do something that's not in this area, right? I know what we're all sitting up here thinking, and David probably is too, is how do we buy property in this area, right, and move our businesses down here? Because you guys are building a foundation to something to produce people who want to work, know how to come to work, and have a skill set ready to put to work. What we're failing to see in our area is that group, right? And I'm not saying, this is not a critique, we shouldn't have to go to the prisons and jails to find workers. We should cut them off at the pass before they get into that situation. And, you know, I will be cliche, you know, the idle hands are the devil's workshop, right? Get them to work, get them doing something, make them productive members. And as we were talking tonight before we come in, give people a sense of ownership. We can do that in the educational system. We can teach kids, we can teach adults who've lost their jobs that there is a place for you with your passion, your skill set, what you want to do, right? But what we have to do as established business owners and as established educators is go ahead and take that step and bridge that gap now and talk to each other. And I'm very pleased to hear that that's happening here locally, it sounds like, right? And I hope it is in some other regions that I'm not aware of. But what we need to do is work together to build that community and find where those people fit. And that starts by reading the blueprint, right? We have to come together and draw up that blueprint. And I'm not up here, we're none of us up here to propose a drastic change, but we have to start rethinking how we do that. And one proposal I had, we all spoke about different proposals, and I've talked to these ladies about it, is it's expensive for schools to buy big equipment, right? We all use very big, very expensive equipment. Tens and tens of millions of dollars of equipment that we own. That's difficult to go down to the local vocational school and say, hey, would you go buy $1 million press brake or a $3 million laser and teach people how to run it so they'll be ready when they come to me? I don't expect anybody to do that. I know none of these owners do, right? And we're talking about people, and David included, who go out and know the names of everybody that works for them, all 459 employees, right? They care on an individual level. I watched my boss run himself ragged driving around to 6 locations just trying to keep people motivated and persuaded and keep them a part of the businesses, right? What we need to do, and one proposal I have, is let's work together as educators and businesses, not to just bring kids for tours. That's great, and that is a good start. Not to just mentor, because right now, I'm telling you tonight, we're a $60 million business. We've grown, I did the math, David will be glad to hear this, we've grown 78% in 5 years, but our workforce has grown 40, and we dropped 2 last year, while adding over 28% business growth. So the people we do have are getting burnt out, and they're not going to last much longer, right? And we've got to get people in behind there, but there's a churn of kids and young people coming and going out of our business. They come in, they learn for a little while, and then they step right back out. And I think we need that direction. We need to help people find their place in this world, really. We really need to say, hey, What do you like doing? Aptitude tests, working together as businesses. We were talking about it. We would love to put out aptitude tests and say, hey, here's a business that can use your skill set. We use every skill set known. We really do. From the highest mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, all the way down to a person who's just trying to figure out what a piece of sheet metal is, right? We can use every one of them as long as they have passion, heart, and a dedication. But that's where we have to start the teaching, is there. That's where we have to bring together each other. And so what I would like to propose is where we even think about making our businesses schools. I've got an entire second shift that we cannot man, and enough work to fill that second shift and a third shift that I'm turning away every day. Turning away multiple businesses. Never in my career have I had so many phone calls over the last 2 years of people asking me, can I build something for you? It was always me knocking on the door. Hey, here I am. What can I build for you? I'll compete against anybody. Now it's, we can't find anyone. This world, this country is full of companies, other manufacturers who are looking to me, and I'm looking to others. And none of them can find workers right now. We can't find people who will work into that and grow with it. And yet we're building mentoring programs, going out to the prisons and jails. We're offering to maybe make our business a school. Hey, we'll put in new equipment. You bring your people and actually let them learn how to build what we build. And I love the programs, but we shouldn't have to come off site and train them there. Bring them to us. Let's come up with ways that we can work together to say, hey, you can come to our facility. We've already spent the money on the equipment, and we would love to be running it and producing product off of it every night. We would love it. We would love it. What we don't have is the people that we already utilize that are highly skilled people don't have time. I can't afford, our company can't afford to give 2 to 3 hours every day to train someone because I need that person producing parts that we're already behind on. So we need educators who are good at educating, who are good at instructing people and learning, and we need to build programs where you do come out and say, what type of training do you need at your facility? And I love to hear that because you're growing that right now. What we need to do is now how to get that in the hands of government, other educators. We need to be that spark, as I said in the beginning. As collaborators, and I think we all are here tonight, we need to be the sparks individually, I think, that go out and say, hey, it's been successful for us, and we're tired of watching a whole generation being created of just lemmings bouncing around off each other, wondering where we go next. How many people have we shared back and forth in the last year? 15, 20, sometimes multiple times. And we're doing what we feel is the right thing. They just don't know where their place is. They don't know how to even grab the rungs of the ladder and climb. And we're trying to give them opportunity, and they're selling themselves short. They don't even know what to ask for a wage. You've either got some coming to us that say, I think I'm worth $150,000 a year. I have a 2-year degree. When are you going to hire me?
I can't add, but
I can't add, but you should pay me 3 figures. Or we have others who are saying, can you pay me $15,000 a year, $25,000 a year? Well, sure, I was going to give you double that. So we have to start working together to show our expectations, just like I do with my customers. I need to know their expectations, and I think us as customers of the education system share our expectations, but then work together as a solution. My best customers are people who work together with me for a solution, who read the blueprint together. They don't just slide it across the table and say, build it or not, it's up to you. I come back to them with, well, maybe we build it this way. Let's try. We're going to come up with the same product, but let's work together to build the product better, to come up with something that is beneficial for all of us, right? And that's where we're going to win, is that collaboration that's been echoed all through here tonight.
So just to close us out, thank you guys so much for bearing with us. We know we've gone long, so we will wrap it up. But I don't want to wrap it up without giving you some action steps, because it sounds like there's dozens of you guys in this room that are doing it right and have gotten it right. Our decision makers in our counties are not getting it right. They're actually getting it woefully wrong. And that has caused us to have to take some of these efforts. Putting in on the job training. We've put in an apprenticeship school where we have just a day that is dedicated to basic financial literacy. Because believe it or not, you can hire a young man who has just graduated from high school or even graduated from a 4-year degree from one of our local colleges, and he doesn't realize that even though I start him off at $18 an hour, his 18 times 40 is not going to equal whatever that equals. He has to pay taxes. We have had multiple people come to us up in arms because they don't realize they have to pay taxes. Guys, we're talking about 20-something-year-olds. I mean, that has to change, but what that's a reflection of is things that are not being communicated and taught inside the school system. This is not a one-time happening. This happens all the time. So we're putting in an apprenticeship program that one day is just dedicated to basic financial literacy. They're going to learn about direct deposits, about benefits, about how to write a check, taxes, all of that, and credit, the importance of good credit, and then we're going to pay them to learn how to weld so that we can then employ them and pay them more because we helped them get that skill. That's something that really, in all honesty, Mercer County Tech and Career School, Career and Technical Center in Tazewell County or Southwest Virginia Community College should be doing. But when their students come to us at Lawrence Brothers, and this is just expressing a very honest critique that I've seen for 16 years, they can't put two pieces of metal together. They've gone through a full year or 2 years of training, and they cannot do it. And that breakdown of communication is what's causing that. All we want is a conversation. So I want to give you guys a couple of action steps of what we can do to transform this problem that we're having. One is a call for accountability, right, to the people that are in decision-making roles and in educating roles, expressing that honest critique to them in a respectful and calm way, which is often hard for me. So if any of you have seen that side of me, please forgive me. 16 years of frustration. And then acknowledging the imperfections. We're all imperfect. We're imperfect at teaching these people this, but we've been trying to do it, and we've been trying to get others to do it for so long that we're going the only route that we know that works, which is doing it on site. So I would just like to ask you guys, anyone who has worked in workforce development, has worked in education, has worked in the trades, please reach out to someone who you know in some of the counties that are lagging behind. Reach out to David Matlock. I'm already going to talk to David and see if he will reach out to our county administrator and our superintendent and our director of Career and Technical Center, and we're going to try to bring those people in a room and have a conversation. Please know that's a conversation I've been trying to have for 15 years. So we've been trying, and we're going to do it really with or without them. But it's going to be a lot more efficient and a lot more effective if we can all do it together and collaborate. You guys have proven that. Here in Washington County, you've proven that. In Bland County and Wythe County and Carroll County, you guys have proven that. So kudos to you all. So I'd just like each of you to please think of somebody you can talk to or some influence that you can have to help us, right? I feel like we're up here begging and we're up here preaching to the choir. But we appreciate everything you guys are doing, and just ask that when you see the opportunity, or even if before you see it, make the opportunity to go and speak with someone who you know who could help develop our workforce further along the skill sets that we require. Thank you guys so much.
Anyone have any questions before the keynote speakers go? Anyone awake? Oh, how could you sleep, right? Pretty interesting stories, fascinating people. Thank you all. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, Jason, for being willing to be the keynote for us. Hopefully this will spark some interest in that change that we desperately need across our entire region. So thank you. Another round of applause, please.
All right, so we're getting ready to move to the Esther W. Bolin Lifetime Achievement Award. Before we do that real quick, there's a young man here, and his name's Sawyer. And Sawyer was really upset when we were coming in because I wouldn't give him any drink tickets. And he just tickled me. So I figured, Sawyer, we're going to draw for door prizes real quick. We're going to do, if you can go up to that bowl and just pick 3 tickets out. Just stir them up real good and bring me 3 tickets. All right. So really quickly, on your door prize ticket, the last 3 numbers, 009. All right. Nobody? All right. Last 3 numbers, 041. All right. Last 3 numbers, 069. All right, Sawyer, what did you do? What? All right, 049. All right, Dawn, come pick you a prize. So we have a computer bag, a laptop bag from Gen Edge. We have 2 hats donated from Tactical Wash LLC. And we have a spa and a bag from Iridescence, the Chic Boutique. Yeah. Shameless plug, that's my wife's business. All right, last 3 numbers, 026. Last 3 numbers, oh, okay. The computer bag from Gen Edge or the 2 hats from Tactical Wash. And then last 3 numbers, 036. All right.
The theme this year is Education, Investing in Tomorrow Today, and our Lifetime Achievement Award recipient lived this theme. In fact, she is one of the reasons we can host this event in this building tonight. We are honored to present the Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Rachel Davis Folks. It would be impossible to find the superlatives to accurately pay tribute to such a remarkable human being, but few simple words come immediately to mind. Though she may be little, she is fierce. From Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream captures the essence of Rachel. She lived a big life, filled with passion and purpose. A little background on Rachel: she moved to Abingdon in 1969 and was a special education teacher and then the supervisor for special education for Washington County. During the time, Rachel was pursuing her doctorate in education from the University of Virginia. She experienced and became keenly aware of the need for making higher education accessible for everyone in Southwest Virginia without leaving the region or putting thousands of miles on a car. And she learned every inch of the interstate between Abingdon and Charlottesville, supporting higher education from just books in the trunk of her car. Rachel's license plate had "Create Jobs" on it, and she lived through that. It's impossible to talk about Rachel without mentioning her brainchild, which is this building. Rachel was the founding executive director and state agency head for 24 years until her retirement in 2015. During Rachel's tenure, the center not only partnered with 10 colleges and universities, but supported thousands of our neighbors, some of whom may be in attendance tonight, attaining their degrees. In addition, Rachel and her team continue to see opportunities and fulfill their passions of education at all levels by bringing a host of educational opportunities from K-12 students and teachers to the College of Older Adults. When the opportunity to promote STEM careers to young ladies in our region presented itself, Rachel didn't start small and grow the program. No, being an employee of Rachel's, she went big, and she brought her team along with her. She started by inviting all Russell County, Smith County, Washington County, and the city of Bristol schools. Needless to say, with 700 students plus teachers and primary female volunteers in the building, it became the only day a year that all of the restrooms were women except for one male was relabeled. When Rachel heard or thought of an idea, she had a way of making it in reality. And I didn't realize it at the time, but Rachel kind of had a quote. She said, if you wanted something done and you got the answer no, keep rewording the question until you get the answer that you seek. And that was really, Rachel done that a lot with her employees, colleagues. You know, if Rachel came to you, more than likely you were going to do it. So one of the big things that Rachel brought to the Higher Ed Center that she was really proud of was the first LEGO League. And I heard a story from Bill Duggins, and what happened was Rachel met Bill Duggins somewhere in Roanoke, it may have been Richmond, and she saw the first LEGO League tournament, and she was like, Bill, I have a building in Abingdon, Virginia that would be perfect for this tournament. Well, hearing that it was in Southwest Virginia, and he says he's ashamed of it now, he thought, oh, it wouldn't be that big, it wouldn't be just a small room, we need a large area. When Bill came a year later after turning Rachel down and saw what she had here, the first LEGO League tournament was held there that fall, and he had to swallow his words for turning her down. And of course, Rachel just had that smile because she knew, she already dreamed that this tournament could be here. So you guessed it, the tournament was here, and she got the volunteers that she needed. And this tournament has been going on for almost 12 to 13 years now. And the one thing that Rachel kind of said as kind of like a quote, she said, if you ask anybody that works here at the Higher Ed Center, she said, what does she do? There would be a pause. And then she would say, she really doesn't do anything but sit around that office and dream up for things for us to do. And some of the employees here that work for Rachel would tell you that. She dreamed big, and then all of a sudden, here we were working on this great big event and always brought it to fruition. Rachel's advice is to see in life was simple. You need to form relationships outside of your bubble. If you have to sit back and wait for somebody to come to you, it's unlikely to happen. A few weeks, last time I saw Rachel, it was about 2 or 3 weeks before, the incident, and she was here at the Higher Ed Center, to her favorite place to be at. This is the place that, she always promoted. We say that she retired in 2015, but that's kind of a lie. She still came into the building, and you would have thought she was an employee here. Rachel was always a go-getter. She was moving trash cans, whatever she had to do to make this center great. And when she was here that day for the Rotary event, I saw her. And most of the time, like I said earlier, Rachel was always dreaming of stuff for us to do. Don't you think you should do this? Don't you think you should do that? Wouldn't this make this better? This is the first time I ever heard Rachel say, in the entire time I worked for her, and that's at least 10, 12 years, she looked at me and she said, you know what, this building is in good hands. I know it's in good hands. You guys are doing great stuff here, from the IT to the conference services. Everything looks here top notch, and she's like, I know this building will succeed and continue to because of the employees that work here. And I thought that was a great compliment because you never heard that. It was always, how can we make it better? And she knew that this place, and talking tonight, we say all these great things about Rachel. She would be kind of rolling her eyes because what she would want to hear is, what is the Higher Ed Center doing? What are we doing to form these partnerships? What are we doing to make this place great in this region? How are we being an asset? So I can't share a whole lot, but what I will say is stay tuned. We're forming partnerships. We're about to make some announcements, on some college partners that we're forming, helping out our people. And also I just want to invite you. I hear like a lot of manufacturers, some of you have already mentioned that you're going to reach out to our executive director here about, events and stuff. We're here for that collaboration. This is what we're here for. We love the community, we love the education, we want to bridge those gaps, and we are here in a great location right off of 81 to be able to help you with that. But in closing, just one last thing about Rachel is her impact was great, and her loss will be felt deeply by many. She was a difference maker in countless lives and leaves a far-reaching legacy. Perhaps her most enduring legacy is the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. Its very existence a result of her vision. And unfortunately, her family couldn't be here tonight to accept the award, but thank you for coming out.
All right, well, that concludes our program, and the gala for 2023 is in the books. We hope next year that you all come back and join us. We don't have a date set just yet, but expect to see that coming out soon. I will say, if anybody here is interested in Appalachia and what Dawn was talking about earlier, I have business cards on the table out front, the registration table. Please take one anyway, whether you're interested in Appalachia or not, because you never know, you may need to get in touch with me. If you want to leave your business card at your table, I'll go around after everybody's kind of cleared out and pick up all the business cards. So take advantage of that. If you're a business owner, if you are part of a nonprofit, locality, anything. In Appalachia is not just for businesses. It's about creating connections across localities, individuals, businesses. So definitely take advantage of it and sign up. With that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. I know we've went over, on our time, but it was well worth it. I want to thank our speakers, our panelists. I want to thank the ACI board. You guys, I have the best job in the world, and I'm not just sucking up or kissing anybody's hind end here. Look, I have the best board out there, the best group of people, most motivated group of people that I work for, and I couldn't be happier. So, thank you all.